Hello students, in this lecture we will be discussing about the non-inverting configuration of summing amplifier. So, this circuit can be designed by proper selection of R1 and RF, and since all the inputs in combined way is applied to the non-inverting input of the op-amp, this is working in non-inverting configuration. Now we need to verify the function of the circuit and the expression of output voltage, and therefore this RIF is nothing but the input resistance of the amplifier with feedback, and this is very large in general. So if we now apply the superposition theorem to find the voltage V1 here at the non-inverting terminal, we may write this expression. And how we may write this expression? Let us find V1 with respect to VA. Now when we are trying to find that, consider R1 and R2 in parallel. So the equivalent these two branch resistances are in parallel, and the equivalent of these two resistances is R into R divided by R plus R. So this is nothing but R by 2. So that means this circuit can be equivalently drawn like this. The resistance, the value of the resistance of this one is R by 2, and this is VA, and we are trying to find the voltage at this point V1 with respect to VA. So now these two resistances are in series, so therefore potential divider rule can be applied to find V1. So V1 can be written as VA into the resistance of this is R. So this V1 is the voltage across R. So this is R. So if we apply the superposition theorem in this now, we should be getting the voltage divider rule in such a fashion that we have applied a voltage VA as the input voltage and trying to find the intermediate node voltage V1, where intermediate node is between the two series connected resistances R and R by 2. And since we are applying the superposition theorem, so superposition theorem means we need to find the effect of V1, effect of voltage V1 with respect to node VA, with respect to voltage VA first, and when we will finding that, then VB and VC as per superposition theorem should be connected to ground. When V1 is to be found with respect to VB, then VA and VC will be shorted to ground. When V1 is needed to be found with respect to VC using potential divider rule, VA and VB should be connected to ground. So this is the way the superposition theorem works. And finally, whatever is found V1 with respect to VA or VB or VC, all the three outputs or all the three results should be algebraically added, and that is the superposition theorem. So the superposition theorem is finding the effect of sources at a particular node or at a particular point of circuit, considering all other sources at that time are not working or connected to the ground or working as zero if they are voltage sources, and it is open circuit if they are current sources. So this is the superposition theorem, and in this way the effect of all the sources should be algebraically added to get the overall output. So therefore, if we apply superposition theorem in this, then we should be first finding V1 with respect to VA using the potential divider rule, considering VB and VC to be 0. So this node is now connected to ground. So this equivalent circuit will now look like two resistances R and R by 2 in series, and intermediate node between them is having voltage V1, and V1 is to be found with respect to VA. So applying the potential divider rule, V1 equal to VA into this V1 is the voltage across this R2, because V1 is measured with respect to ground now. So the voltage which is appearing across R by 2 is V1. So V1 should be found VA into R by 2 divided by R plus R by 2, the two series connected resistances. This is as per potential divider rule. Similarly, we can find V1 with respect to VB also. This will remain same and only this value will be changed to VB. Similarly, V1 can be found with respect to VC also. This will remain same, only this value will be changed to VC. Now, if we sum up all the three values, V1 should be written as this equation with respect to VA, with respect to VB, this plus with respect to VC. Okay, so therefore, from here, if we simplify the whole, we can find V1 is equal to, this is R by 2 and R plus R by 2, that means it is 3R, this is R by 2 and this is R plus 2R plus R, 3R by 2, taken common, VA plus VB plus VC. So therefore, if we cancel out the R value, that means this is half into 2 by 3, that is into VA plus VB plus VC, and so this is 1/3 VA plus VB plus VC, and this is nothing but V1. Okay, so the output voltage then, therefore VO can be written as, if V1 is this, so VO can be written as, we know the gain of non-inverting amplifier is 1 plus RF by R1. This is the formula, the closed loop gain for non-inverting amplifier. This is closed loop gain of non-inverting op-amp amplifier. Okay, so if V1 is the input voltage, because V2 will be grounded, and so in this case the whole input is applied at V1 and therefore and nothing is applied at the V2, so therefore gain into input voltage is the output voltage. Now if we substitute V1 in place of this equation, so VO can be written as, in terms of this VA, VB, VC, 1 plus RF by R1 into VA plus VB plus VC divided by 3. So this is the expression for output voltage for non-inverting mode of amplifier. Now let us see how it is acting as averaging amplifier, or how it can be explained with the help of this equation, that it may also act as an averaging amplifier. Now from this equation, it shows that the output voltage is equal to the average of all the input voltages, because all the input voltages are summed up divided by total number of inputs, that is 3. So it is already, the averaging is done. So this portion is the average of all the input voltages, and the output voltage is equal to the average of all the input voltages times the gain of the circuit, which is 1 plus RF by R1. So hence this is already the expression of output voltage for averaging amplifier. Now depending on the application of requirement, the gain 1 plus RF by R1 can be set to a specific value, and if the gain is set 1, the output voltage will be equal to the average of all the input voltages. So therefore when 1 plus RF by R1 is 1, that means VO is VA plus VB plus VC by 3. So that is the actually output of average amplifier, this one. And when this will hold, this expression for output voltage, we can say that this circuit is working as averaging amplifier, and in that case the gain 1 plus RF by R1 is 1 when it will be that, if it is unity gain. Now it is to be noted, there are two basic differences between this averaging amplifier and that was and that we have found in case of inverting configuration. One thing is, no sign change on phase or phase reversal occurs between the average of the inputs and the outputs. So at the two sides of this equal sign, it is positive and no sign change is there. That means no phase reversal, because it is working in non-inverting mode. And also the non-inverting input voltage V1 is the average of all the inputs Whereas in case of inverting averaging amplifier, we have seen that output is the average of all the inputs with a negative sign. So what is the difference between these two averaging amplifier? In case of this, we are seeing that output of this amplifier is the average of all the inputs. But in case of inverting averaging amplifier, we have seen okay, just a minute. In case of this amplifier, we are seeing that the V1 is the average. That means this input V1, which is being applied in the non-inverting terminal, that is actually doing the averaging of all the inputs. But in case of inverting amplifier, in the previous case, inverting averaging amplifier, the output is average of all the inputs with a negative sign. So the average of all the inputs is found from the output in case of inverting configuration, and average of all the inputs is found at node with voltage V1. That means the input node, which is non-inverting node, non-inverting input node in case of non-inverting configuration. So these two differences can be noted. Now let us see how this amplifier is working as summing amplifier. If we refer once again to this output equation, it shows that if the gain 1 plus Rf by R1 is equal to the number of inputs, the output voltage becomes equal to the sum of all input voltages. That means if 1 plus Rf by R1 is equal to 3, it will mean that VO should be equal to 3 into VA plus VB plus VC divided by 3. 3 cancels out, and so VO should be equal to VA plus VB plus VC. So therefore we can say the circuit is a non-inverting summing amplifier. Now when this is so that this circuit is working as a non-inverting summing amplifier when its gain is 3. So when this circuit is used as either an averaging or summing amplifier, offset null circuitry or the offset null compensating network must be used to improve its accuracy. Likewise, we have seen in case of inverting mode of operation. So that's all for non-inverting configuration, and it's working as averaging and summing amplifier. Next, let us move on to the new topic, that is a 4-input summing amplifier is constructed using basic differential amplifier. Till now we have used inverting and non-inverting amplifier to construct the summing amplifier. In this case, we will be see how differential amplifier can be used. Using differential amplifier, how 4-input summing amplifier can be formed. 4-input summing amplifier. So it can be formed by simply adding two additional input sources, because with a normal differential amplifier, because we know that for a differential amplifier 2 inputs are already there, and if it is to be made 4 input, that means we need to add 2 additional input sources, one each to the inverting and non-inverting input terminals through a current limiting resistor. So the circuit will look like this. This is the circuit. So At the inverting terminal, two inputs are VA and VB, two voltage sources, and VC and VD is applied to the non-inverting input terminal all through a current limiting resistor R. So 2 to the non-inverting and 2 to the inverting input. This is node voltage V2, this is node voltage V1, and this is load resistance RL. So output is VO, and the feedback resistor is also equal to R, that is equal to the input resistances or the external resistances for the circuit. Now this VO, we should be finding this VO. Now the output voltage equation for this circuit can be obtained by using the superposition theorem once again, because we are once again observing here that multiple sources are connected. Now when we work with multiple sources in a circuit, we know it is best to apply superposition theorem, that is to find the effect of each and individual source nullifying at that time nullifying the effect of other sources. That means the other sources should be connected to ground, or if it is a voltage source, or it should be kept open if it is a current source. So now the output voltage, applying the superposition theorem to find the output voltage due to VO alone, we need to reduce all other input voltages VB, VC, VD to 0, and let us find VO with respect to VA only. That means while VA is acting alone and VB, VC, VD are 0. And in this case, this circuit is an inverting amplifier in which the inverting input is at virtual ground. That means V2 is equal to 0. So because we are when we are asking that VA is working alone and VB, VC, VD are 0, that means we are applying input to the inverting terminal and the op amp is acting as an inverting amplifier, and for an inverting amplifier we know that V2 is at virtual ground. Okay, so therefore V2 is equal to 0 when VA is alone acting. V2 is equal to 0 for virtual ground. Okay, now the output voltage VO with respect to A, denoted by VOA, when VA is acting alone, can be given by the gain formula for inverting amplifier. We know minus RF by R1. So RF is R, R1 is R, so both are, so that means it is minus R by R into VA. So this is the basic formula of inverting amplifier. As we know, for inverting amplifier, VO is minus RF by R1 into Vin, using this formula for inverting amplifier. And why it is inverting amplifier? Because only at the one input VA is acting alone, at which is applied at the inverting terminal, and other input sources are 0, made to 0. So this is one. Now this result can also be obtained by using Thevenin's theorem here, looking back from node V2. So if we need to look from the input side into the op amp through this node V2 and applying Thevenin's theorem, we may find the same thing also. Now similarly, the output voltage due to V2 alone, if now V2 is VB is alone acting, then also VOB, so this is nothing but minus VA. So in this case VOB is also minus VB. Now if input voltages VA, VB and VD are set to 0, then the circuit becomes a non-inverting amplifier. VA, VB, VD are 0, only VC is acting alone. When, so in these two, for VA, VB, it is inverting mode, and for VC, VD, it is non-inverting mode. So when VC is alone, it is non-inverting mode of operation. So that means then uh, for then we need to find the voltage at V1, this node voltage at the non-inverting input, for Vc when Vd, Vb and Va are set to ground. So therefore V1 should be written as R by 2, as we have seen in the last case for non-inverting amplifier, R by 2 divided by R plus R by 2 into Vc, which is Vc by 3, because in that case the equivalent resistance of these two resistances is R by 2 and V1 is measured across that resistance R by 2, across that resistance R by 2, which is which is found when Vd is connected to ground. So across this resistance R by 2, and these two resistances, this R by 2 and this R is in series then. So applying potential divider rule, we can write this. So therefore similarly, if we want to find when Vd is alone, then V1 should be written as R by 2 divided by R plus R by 2 into Vd, that is Vd by 3. That means in that case this Vc is at ground, parallel of this equivalent of these two resistances is R by 2, and Vd is found when V1 is the voltage across this resistance, which is R by 2, and the series of these two resistances R plus R by 2 into this Vd, the applied voltage. So this is Vd by 3. So therefore, so if this is V1 when Vc is acting alone, given by this, and Vd when Vd is acting alone, V1 is given by this. So for Vc acting alone, let us find if V1 is this, then how much is Vo when with respect to C, denoted by VOC, and that is the gain of this differential amplifier. It is working in non-inverting mode, that means it is 1 plus Rf by R1, the gain. And what is Rf? It is R. The Rf resistance is R here. So R by R1. R1 is how much? The external resistance connected at the input terminal. What is the total external resistance equivalent to this R and R? It is R by 2. So 1 plus R by 2 into the input voltage Vin, and that is V1 here. So it may be written as 1 plus R gets cancelled 2, and what is V1? It is Vc by 3. So therefore it is Vc. So VOC is nothing but Vc. So similarly, the output voltage due to input voltage Vd acting alone should be VOD, that is should be Vd. So therefore, by using the superposition theorem, the overall output voltage due to all four input voltages is given by VO is equal to VOA plus VOB plus VOC plus VOD, and that is equal to, what is VOA? It is minus VA, then it is minus VB. That means we should be writing in this way, plus of minus VB. VOC is VC and VOD is VD. So therefore VO is minus VA minus VB plus VC plus VD. So here we can see, if we analyze this expression, output voltage, it is seen to be equal to the sum of the input voltages applied to the non-inverting terminal plus the negative sum of the input voltages applied to the inverting terminal. Okay, and even since the gain of the summing amplifier is 1, we have considered over here, any scale factor can be used for the inputs for selecting proper external resistor. So in this way, we can explain with the help of differential amplifier, if this op amp is a differential amplifier having only two inputs, how it can be acting as a 4 input summing amplifier in this fashion, considering where the inputs are being added, and at the output expression accordingly the polarity signs will be coming up. If they are added to the inverting terminal, before them should be a negative sign. If they are added to the non-inverting terminal, in front of them it should be positive sign. So VC, since VC and VD is applied to the non-inverting terminal, it is added with positive sign, and VA and VB applied to the inverting terminal, it is added to the overall output with negative sign. So this algebraic addition will be giving us the total input of this particular 4 input summing amplifier. So this is the example, this is the explanation how we can say that using differential amplifier configuration a 4 input summing amplifier can be formed. Let us now move on to our next topic on instrumentation amplifier. Instrumentation amplifier. This is another of op-amp application. In many industrial and consumer applications, the measurement and control of physical conditions are very important. For example, measurements of temperature and humidity inside a plant permit the operator to make necessary adjustment to maintain the product quality. Similarly, precise temperature control is needed in some specific applications for producing some specific type of product dependent on temperature variability. Generally, a transducer is used at the measuring site to obtain the required information easily and safely. Now, what is a transducer? So, for studying instrumentation amplifier using op-amp, the concept of transducer is important. Now, what is a transducer? It is a device that converts one form of energy into the other. For example, a strain gauge. It is such a device when subjected to pressure or force, that is physical energy, it undergoes a change in its resistance, that is it transforms the physical energy into electrical energy. That means transducer is basically a energy form converter. Okay, now an instrumentation system is used to measure the output signal produced by a transducer and often to control the physical signal producing it. So an instrumentation system will be that, if to be very explicitly speaking, it is such a system which is used to measure the actual output signal produced by a transducer taken from its physical input, which is producing that output, to control the physical input of the transducer. Now, the block diagram of an instrumentation system may be drawn in a simplified form before going into the instrumentation amplifier. What is actually it is? The block diagram should look like this. There is an input stage which is connected to intermediate stage, and then it is connected to output stage, and the connection is done through, they are called transmission lines. The physical quantity that is to be measured is applied at the input stage. Physical quantity, measurable physical quantity. The first stage is called transducer and preamplifier. The second stage is instrumentation amplifier. And the third stage is indicator and automatic process controller. That means the output stage. Intermediate stage is instrumentation amplifier, output stage is indicator or display, we can say, and automatic process controller. That means which will control this whole process. Automatic process controller. So this is the block diagram of an instrumentation system. Block diagram of instrumentation system. So what is the need of this block diagram to draw or to discuss in this context? Because it shows an intermediate stage which is nothing but the instrumentation amplifier, which is our topic of discussion. So if we analyze this block diagram of instrumentation system, we can understand at which place the instrumentation amplifier is applicable. So therefore, it is basically connected between a control stage and a transducer stage, or an output stage and an input stage. The instrumentation amplifier, that means it is basically a processing system, and the input stage is composed of preamplifier also and some sort of transducer for signal conversion. And if the signal is weak, that is being sensed by the transducer, the preamplification stage is kept with it, depending on the physical quantity to be measured, how they will work. And the output stage may use devices such as different meters, display devices, oscilloscopes, charts, magnetic recorders, etc. So this is the output stage is nothing but how to display, how to inform the user what value you have measured for the physical quantity which is being applied at the input, in what form it is measured and what is its value. The way it will show that value is the job of the output stage. Now in this figure, the connecting lines between the blocks represent transmission lines. They are called, usually used especially when the transducer is at a remote test site monitoring, and there may be hazardous conditions such as high temperatures or the liquid levels of flammable chemicals. So therefore, for remote monitoring, test monitoring, this block diagram is used with the help of connecting with the help of transmission lines, and these lines permit signal transfer from unit to unit. The length of the transmission line depends primarily on the physical quantities that is to be monitored and on the system requirements. Now the signal source of the instrumentation amplifier, as it is evident from the block diagram, is the output of the transducer. Although some transducers produce outputs with sufficient strength to permit their use directly, but in some cases this does not happen. Now for those cases where this does not happen, it needs the transduction of the physical quantity that is being measured, and along with that the quantity which is being sensed or transduced also needs some pre-amplification because of its initial weakness of its amplitude after sensing. So therefore, to amplify the low level output signal of the transducer so that it can drive the indicator or display is the major function of the instrumentation amplifier. So for what purpose this instrumentation amplifier will serve in this block diagram is to produce this pre-amplification, and after the pre-amplification the residual part of required amplification that has to be provided by this instrumentation amplifier, and it is to be done in such a way or in such a magnitude that should be very much perceivable, very well perceivable by the output stage. So therefore the instrumentation amplifier is intended to be used here for precise low level signal amplification. So what it will do, this instrumentation amplifier will do precise low level signal amplification. So this is nothing but an amplifier which will do a reasonably high, a reasonably good perceivable signal amplification of the transducer output after the pre-amplification part is over. And this amplification by the instrumentation amplifier will be done in such a way that it should be having low noise, low thermal and time drifts, high input resistance of it, and accurate closed loop gain that also be required to ensure that. So for very well perceivable amplification with low noise and low thermal and time drift, the instrumentation amplifier should be having high input resistance and accurate closed loop gain. So the property that is required for instrumentation amplifier is high closed loop gain and accurate also. That means variation of gain is not tolerable. And the second property is it should be having high input resistance. High input resistance. As we have seen, that is beneficial for working with op-amps, because op-amps also have high input resistance. Now if we want this, the high input resistance and high closed loop gain is very common to be desired from a instrumentation amplifier. Now if we want far more superior performance, then we should be adding 3 more properties with these 2 properties of high accurate gain and high input resistance. The additional property that should be that is required for good instrumentation amplifier, it is low power consumption. This is one. High CMRR, quite similar to the properties of op-amp, and high slew rate. So all 3 we can see that they are quite common for the idealistic properties of op-amp. This should be required for getting far more superior performance by the performance parameter. These are the performance parameters which are far more required, quite appreciably required for better performance by instrumentation amplifier. So these are performance parameters for instrumentation amplifier. There are many instrumentation operational amplifiers. We can name quite a few in terms of their IC numbers: MU A725, ICL 7605, LH0036, and so on. These are some of the ICs make circuit extremely stable and accurate to be used for instrumentation amplification purpose, instrumentation amplifier. These ICs are, however, relatively expensive, and they are very precise special purpose circuits in which most of the electrical parameters such as offset problems, drifts, power consumption are minimized, whereas input resistance, CMRR and supply ranges are optimized in these ICs. Some instrumentation amplifiers are even available in modular form to suit special requirements. Now obviously the requirements for instrumentation op-amps or amplifiers are more rigid than those for general purpose applications, so it is quite specific to be used, the instrumentation amplifier. However, the requirements are not too strict. The for general purpose op-amp can be employed in the differential mode also, and we will call such amplifiers differential instrumentation amplifiers. And for these differential instrumentation amplifiers, they can be far more used for general purpose, and the requirements for using this are not that much very strict. Now since most of the instrumentation systems use transducer in a bridge circuit, we will consider the simplified differential instrumentation system arrangement now using a transducer bridge circuit. Okay, so we will now going to discuss the instrumentation amplifier using transducer bridge. which is far more widely used to explain the operation of instrumentation amplifier using transducer bridge. Now here we will be considering a differential amplifier basically to understand the operation of instrumentation amplifier, and at the part where the transducer is to be shown, that should be connected or configured in a bridge configuration. So it is basically the differential instrumentation amplifier using transducer bridge. So it should be better, the name should be given as differential instrumentation amplifier using transducer bridge. Now this is the 2 op amp, and since it is differential amplifier, so it should be having 2 inputs only, and they are connected in this fashion like a voltage follower circuit, and no resistance is connected in its feedback path in both the cases. And it is then connected to a third amplifier, and that amplifier is connected in open loop, that means a third op amp. And from that open loop op amp, the final output is taken, and after connecting it in open loop, the feedback path is closed with a resistance, with its feedback resistance. This is usually the load resistance, which is connected to a indicating meter. So output is indicated by this indicating meter, which is having a meter resistance Rm. This is load resistance RL. This is feedback resistance for the second stage of amplification or second stage of op amp. This is R1 for this stage, and this is R2. R1 is also R2 is equal to R1, and the voltage between these two resistances, these two op amps, is given by VAB at its output, and at its input it is also VAB. The difference voltage is same for both the op amps for the first stage, and it is because there is no feedback resistance connected, and these two op amps are working as voltage follower. Therefore whatever is the voltage at its input is reflected at the output, because they are having unity gain, as no feedback resistance is connected at either of them. This is having A1 as gain, this is having A2 as gain, and this is having A3 as gain. Now, so this is the amplifier part of circuit along with the indicator. Now let us draw the bridge here, and at one arm of the bridge the transducer will be placed. This is the transducer, which is the resistance of which is encircled. This is resistive transducer. It is denoted by a resistance, its circuit symbol. So it is a resistive transducer, and that is RT plus minus delta R. The variation of resistance is denoted by delta R, and RT is the resistance of the transducer, and when it is not varied and after the variation is introduced, it is RT plus minus delta R. This is RA, this is RB, this is RC, the other resistances in the other three arms. This node is grounded, and from this particular node between RB and RC, it is connected to the non-inverting terminal of the op-amp with gain A2. A voltage source is connected VDC between these two opposite nodes, a DC voltage source, and this is VDC. And now so the other node, it is connected to, which was left, it is connected to the non-inverting terminal of the op-amp with gain A1, and this node voltage is given by VA, and if this node voltage is given by VA, this node, then the opposite will be denoted by VB, and this VB is connected to here, the non-inverting input of second op-amp, that is A2 op-amp, and VA is connected to non-inverting terminal of A1 op-amp. So between the two non-inverting inputs of the two op-amps, the voltage to be considered as input voltage for the instrumentation amplifier part, that is denoted by VAB. So here the resistive transducer, whose resistance changes as a function of some physical energy, the change is denoted by delta R. So that's why RT plus minus delta R is the changed resistance when some physical energy is absorbed by this resistive transducer, and it is connected in one arm of this bridge, and this is called the transducer bridge, and RT is the resistance of the transducer when there is no change, and del R is the change in the resistance. So RT is transducer resistance here, and del R is change in resistance when a physical quantity is measured. Change in resistance with respect to a physical measurable quantity. And this circuit is hence the differential instrumentation amplifier using transducer bridge. This part is for transducer action, and the rest part, this op-amp part, the 3 op-amp part, is the instrumentation amplifier, and this is the indicator stage. So if we compare the block diagram with this circuit, we can see, so this is the block diagram and this is the circuit. We can see the input stage is this transducer bridge. So this portion is my input stage as per my block diagram. This portion comprising 3 op-amps is my instrumentation amplifier as per my block diagram. Instrumentation amplifier, which is the intermediate stage as given in the block diagram, and the third stage is output stage, which is nothing but this portion, the meter and the load, we can say, considering these two, this is the output stage, which is the indicator and process controller stage. So in this way we can segregate this whole circuit, and as a result, as a whole, we can say this circuit is the circuit of differential instrumentation amplifier using transducer bridge. So now the bridge in the circuit is DC excited, as we have applied a voltage VDC across these opposite nodes. Okay, and from the other two nodes the voltages are tapped to be applied to the instrumentation amplifier, and therefore this application of this VDC will be exciting this bridge, but it could be AC excited also if we apply AC signal in place of DC. For the balanced bridge, at some reference condition, we should be finding that at balance bridge it is VB equal to VA. So therefore, for balance condition, these two VB VA are equal, and there should not be any voltage at the input of the two op amps. So VAB should be ideally 0 at balance condition. So now how to find this VB and VA? This VB can be found as it is using the voltage divider rule on this VDC. The VA will be derived from, both VA and VB will be derived from VDC using the potential divider circuit. When VB is to be found, it is to be measured across RB, which is this resistance, because this VB is measured with respect to ground and across which that RB is connected, and VA is measured with respect to ground across which the RA is connected. So VB is voltage across RB, VA is voltage across RA. So we can say that, and VDC is connected between, it is covering the resistance RC and RB. So RC and RB is connected in series. So therefore, if we apply the potential divider rule between RC and RB using VDC, we can find what is VB actually. So in place of VB, we may write from here RB into VDC divided by RB plus RC. And for RA and for finding VA should be nothing but it is RA, voltage across RA taken from VDC. So RA into VDC divided by RA plus RT. That means the transducer resistance without variation. Because RA, we can find this RA plus RT is connected across this VDC in series. So these two expressions are written using potential divider rule, where RA and RT are connected in series and RB and RC are connected in series across VDC. And that's why the potential divider rule can be applied for finding both VB and VA. So therefore, from here we can say VDC gets cancelled, and this is given by, if we reciprocate the two sides, it should be RB plus RC divided by RB is given by RA plus RT divided by RA, and that is 1 plus RC by RB is 1 plus RT by RA, which is giving us RC by RB is equal to RT by RA. Now, generally the resistors RA, RB, RC are selected so that they are equal in value to the transducer resistance RT at some, with respect to some reference condition. The reference condition is the specific value of the physical quantity under measurement with respect to that at which the bridge is balanced. So this is the bridge balance condition for which the measurement is taken, bridge balance condition, and for getting the bridge balance condition, RA, RB, RC are so selected they are equal in value, and also they will be equal to RT with some reference condition, and with respect to some specific measured value of the physical quantity. This value is normally established by the designer who is designing the circuit and depends on the transducer's characteristics and the type of physical quantity that is to be measured and the desired application. Now the bridge is balanced initially at the desired reference condition at the starting. As the physical quantity to be measured changes, the resistance of the transducer also changes. So initially what we see that the bridge is balanced. We will assume that. But as we move on to see that the physical quantity that is to be measured is applied to the input of the transducer bridge, immediately RT will be starting to change the transducer resistance. So therefore, it will make the balance condition of the bridge into unbalanced condition. So if in this expression, when all these are equal, the bridge is balanced. Now if this RT is becoming RT plus minus del R, that means in that case we cannot say this condition will hold. So then we will be writing RC by RB is not equal to RT plus minus delta R divided by RA. Okay, so this will be the indication of unbalancedness of the bridge. This is unbalanced condition. Okay, and at unbalanced condition, VA is not equal to VB. This is unbalanced. That means VAB should be having finite value at the input of op amp, input of instrumentation amplifier, that is input of the non-inverting terminals of the two op amps with gains A1 and A2. The output voltage of the bridge can then be expressed as a function of change in the, so if there is VAB is finite, so VO, which should be function of VAB, as the instrumentation amplifier will be amplifying this value of VAB to produce VO at the output. So therefore, the output voltage of the bridge can be expressed as a function of change in the resistance of the transducer. Let the change in resistance of the transducer be delta R, and since RB and RC are fixed resistors, the voltage VB is constant. So if we once again look at the diagram, circuit diagram, as RB and RC is fixed and they will be determining the value from here, RB and RC is determining the value of VB, so therefore VB will always be fixed, and if RT is changed, that means VA will also always change but VB will be fixed. Okay, so therefore VA varies as a function of the change in transducer resistance. So according to voltage divider rule, VA is given by RA into VDC divided by RA plus RT plus delta R. Very simple, because RT, it was only RT, now it is RT plus delta R. When it is balanced, it is only RT. Now it is unbalanced, so it is RT plus delta R. And VB is given by RB into VDC divided by RB plus RC. So consequently, the voltage VAB across the output terminals of the bridge is given by VA minus VB, and therefore substituting from above, RA VDC plus RA plus RT plus delta R minus RB VDC divided by RB plus RC. Now if we consider RA equal to RB equal to RC equal to RT equal to R, all resistances of the four arms of the bridge is equal to R, then we may write VAB equal to minus delta R into VDC divided by 2 into 2R plus delta R. If we do the simplification over here, considering all R's, now this expression is solved here. In this expression, putting all resistances as R and then simplifying, we should be getting VAB equal to this one. Now the negative sign in this equation indicates that this is VA minus VB equal to negative value. So from here we can say that VA is less than VB because of the increase in the value of RT. Now the output voltage VAB of the bridge is then applied to the differential instrumentation amplifier. You can see from the circuit diagram, this one here, that VAB, the output of the bridge, is applied to the input. This portion is the differential amplifier. At the input, this VAB is applied from the output of the bridge. This is the bridge circuit. So therefore, the instrumentation amplifier is composed of 3 op amps. They are basically the voltage follower. I have already told you, as feedback resistance is 0, and the voltage followers preceding A1, A2, these two A1, A2 amplifiers are the voltage followers because no feedback resistance, and they are connected to this amplifier which is having gain A3, the second stage of amplifier. And these voltage followers preceding the basic differential amplifier. Now this second stage having gain A3 is the basic differential amplifier which is differentiating VA minus VB. VA minus VB or VAB is applied at the input of this amplifier having gain A3, and this amplifier having gain A3 is working in differential amplifier mode. So therefore, and because it is having 2 inputs also, and this differential amplifier will help to eliminate the loading of the bridge circuit. Now the gain of the basic differential amplifier is minus RF by R1 because it is working in non-inverting mode. It is coming from here, VA is coming to here and VB is coming to here. Since VAB is negative voltage, that means it will be, the amplifier will be acting in non-inverting mode. Now the question is why this amplifier having gain A3 is working as inverting amplifier, because the delta R which is sensed by the transducer and that is converted into the electrical quantity is being passed as electrical signal through this path, and this path is connected to the inverting input of the amplifier, of this amplifier, differential amplifier, and at the non-inverting input it is connected to the other path which is not which is connected to this node having voltage VB, and this VB is found by RC and RB which is other than this RT arm. VA is found by RT and RA. So VA is the responsible voltage or responsible physical quantity that is being measured, which is being converted into the electrical form as VA, the physical quantity converted in electrical form. So delta R converted to electrical form is VA, and that is applied to the inverting input. So that's why this differential amplifier is working in inverting mode. So its gain is minus RF by R1. So we can say the final output VO is at the output of differential amplifier minus RF by R1 into VAB, and that is, this minus will be cancelling out. This is VAB, so this minus will not be there. So it is, the overall output is RF by R1 into delta R VDC divided by 2 into 2R plus delta R. Okay, so this is the overall output for this instrumentation amplifier. Now generally the change in resistance of the transducer delta R is very small. This delta R is very small. Therefore we can approximate 2R plus delta R, this term, equal to 2R. So since delta R is small, so therefore 2R plus delta R is approximately 2R. So therefore the output voltage will become RF by R1 into delta R VDC divided by, it is only 2R, so this is 4R. So this is the final output voltage of instrumentation amplifier which is being discussed, and this equation indicates that VO, output voltage, is directly proportional to the change in resistance delta R of the transducer, because other values RF, R1, R, VDC are constant, so only the variable is delta R, and proportional to delta R, VO will be changing. So VO will be coming with how much the delta R is being measured in terms of its physical quantity. So therefore, since the change in resistance is caused by a change in physical energy, so a meter can be connected at the output where VO is found, and that can be calibrated in terms of the units of that physical energy, and therefore by the display of that meter we can find how much physical energy was there at the input and what should be its measured value in terms of electrical units. So in this way we can say this differential instrumentation amplifier using transducer bridge can be operated upon, and if whatever transducer we can used here, whether it is a light transducer, a temperature transducer, flow transducer, or a temperature controller, anything, it is a temperature indicator, is it a, maybe it is a strain gauge, anything, maybe it is a photoconductive cell, any sort of transducer can be used at this arm, and accordingly the rest of the part, the transduction quantity can be measured and can be amplified and processed by this instrumentation amplifier, and whatever measurement has been done can be displayed by this output unit. So in this way, irrespective of any transducer that is being used at this arm of the transducer bridge, that can be processed by this differential instrumentation amplifier. So this is the general circuit diagram of differential instrumentation amplifier using transducer bridge, irrespective of any type of transducer that can be used over here to measure any type of physical quantity. That's all we have for this topic. Thank you.